So let's see how this goes with take two, shall we? NashvilleLou Live, October 7th, 2022. Trying out a slight modification to the broadcast setup. I think I'm getting close as far as having the microphone sounding the way I want it to, but having to absolutely strain my voice to do this. The wonders of filters, virtual or otherwise. So later today, the browser beta version of Blockchain Brawlers will be coming out. I had so much fun live streaming that game. I've missed live streaming it. Almost to the point of wanting to live stream other things, but other work has called me, so perhaps a blessing in disguise to a degree, but that should be fun as time allows this weekend, although with high school football, college football, American in particular, but also soccer, and of course the NFL on Sunday, a lot going on. My high school alma mater lost last night, 62-55. Clarksville Northeast. Brutal. Congrats to Clarksville Northeast. It's the most points Father Ryan's ever given up in a varsity football game. So I was playing this earlier just to get my bearings. It's been a while since I played RetroMania. The game's a lot of fun. The story mode, I had a really good time playing that. Dave Meltzer in the game. Highly respected journalist. Think about all the crazy, carny people he had to deal with going back to the 1980s to every day. So it was cool they had him in this game in a supporting role in the storyline. The Retro Rumble, this game, RetroMania, is the spiritual successor, if not actual, in reality, successor to one of the all-time great arcade games. Certainly the all-time best arcade wrestling game, in my opinion, WrestleFest. 1991 from Technos. Never ported it to a home system, but I spent plenty of quarters in 1991 money. As a teenager, didn't have a lot of cash, but those games in that era in the arcade, that was like the last golden era of arcade games. NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, playing Mortal Kombat 2 at Gameland. Down by I-24, Harding Place, Nashville, 1994, where you at? People 12 deep in line, either side. Winner stays. Next person buys in. So this has a rather eclectic lineup, RetroMania. Go through it here. They got two of the guys from the original game. They both are deceased. Hawk and Animal, the legendary tag team, the Road Warriors. When this game came out, or when WrestleFest came out, they were like the boss characters in the game. You couldn't actually play as them in the game itself, unless, well, I guess for like home mods or whatever, people that have managed to port it in more recent years. But like, you couldn't pop a quarter into WrestleFest and play as Hawk or Animal. They were twice as powerful as everybody else in the game. But that game is well remembered at a time when WWE Creative was about to like fall off a cliff. Actually, WWF at the time. Here I am slipping up with it. Although it's wild now, 20 plus years later, people still say WWF. They mean WWE. You tell me who won the war. I'm still talking about WCW whenever they won, right? ECW. Anyway, so they're both in the game. Hawk and Animal, you can play as them. Johnny Retro. I'm trying to think which name he would be most well known as to a wrestling fan. John Morrison, I guess, would be it. Kind of his gimmick is he changes his last name wherever he goes, which is, look, there are a lot of trip ups as far as copyright law goes. You do what you got to. Nick Aldis, the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff, Stevie Richards. They've got the NWO parody group BWO well represented in this game. I'm kind of surprised that they never really did anything with Stevie Richards and other iterations. Because this game, the problem with RetroMania is that there aren't enough wrestlers to keep the interest level there long term. You play it too long, you're going to burn out. It's part of why I didn't stream it very much. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I will here again shortly, but You know, you can only run through the BWO so many times. And look, I loved ECW back in the day. Don't get me wrong. There's Tommy Dreamer. And you got Jeff Cobb, who's awesome. New Japan Pro Wrestling. Along with Austin Idol. Hair versus hair match. Let's go. Colt Cabana. No, CM Punk is not in this game, so don't ask. War Horses, though. Zack Sabre Jr. Saw Sabre wrestle over the summer at the Forbidden Door show in Chicago. He was supposed to wrestle Bryan Danielson. I flew in from Nashville for that show. No CM Punk because he was injured, and also, as it turned out, no Bryan Danielson due to injury. So, heck of a make good, though, getting Sabre versus Claudio Castagnoli. They had a heck of a match. It was a great show. I had a lot of fun up there. Chicago, where you at? Brian Myers. Matt Cardona. Now, Chris Bay, they've added to the game. DLC, it's like the world's slowest DLC release. And look, I know, I get it. They have to do new sprites for everybody when they put somebody in the game. I understand. That's one of the shortcomings. You can't do any sort of mods with this that I've seen. And you can't really add new people yourself because of the way that this is done in that retro style to how it was in 1991, using the sprites. So, I think someday Mr. Hughes is going to be in the game. James Storm. Look, I want to rep Middle Tennessee. I think he was a year behind me or a year ahead of me in high school. Our paths never really crossed, as far as I can remember, but it was interesting later hearing he was down there in Williamson County when I was at Father Ryan High School as a student. He may have been class of 94. I was class of 95 at Father Ryan. I'm not sure which school it was. I don't know. You can look up the James Storm biography if you want. You want to talk about somebody missing the boat, TNA Wrestling. They had James Storm in his hometown in a main event cage match against Bobby Roode at that stupid lockdown gimmick where every match is a cage match. You want to make something not feel special real quick? And look, I've seen live MMA. It is amazing. That was not live MMA. But it was still a fun show, all things considered. But they did a screw job finish and had the hometown guy lose in the main event when they had his family there and friends. And that, to me, in a nutshell, is why TNA had so many problems and why it's now under a different ownership. A lot of talent there now. I mean, they Impact Wrestling today still pays for the sins of TNA yesterday. Anyway, so that's the roster for the game. I was playing before as Jeff Cobb. Had a blast. I'll try it again. Of course, the one off stream I win, but I don't even remember what the difficulty. This is the first time for me playing this game on this particular machine. This computer's my high-end computer here. So we'll see how this goes. NashvilleLou Live playing RetroMania October 7th, 2022. Let's see. Look at the different rings here real quick. RetroMania ring, the standard, pretty similar to what WrestleFest looked like, at least on some of the boards. It's your high school gym, that tint of orange, vintage in a Cow Palace kind of way. The ballroom, New York City style, very much like the Manhattan Center. And there's Japan. I think that's supposed to be Cork and Hall. Although there's not, you can't really see the floor in that show. I'm going to have to use that venue to be sure. Warehouse. Look, you shoot TV wherever you can. You get a building, run. Get it. Walk it in. Beach. NWA. There's a lot of NWA in this game. This game came out right around when that promotion was clicking there for a little while before the pandemic. Speaking of NWA Power. And look, NWA is still going right now. It's just it's a tough time. A lot of product out there. House of Hardcore. Tommy Dreamer's promotion. Stevie Richards has the gym. That's Austin Idol's Like on those NWA shows, especially early, they had some really clever like spoof advertising, like Tony Fox tires and what was it? Waffles and tire irons, golden tire iron, and it's Tony Falk who has that certain Tony Falk presence. If you've watched Memphis wrestling, look, I grew up here in Nashville. I know USWA. I was down there. Look, I can talk about the freak show down there. It was what it was. It was a freak show at times. The fans themselves, the crowd. You were amongst quite the, at some point you got to look around and say, okay, what does that say about me if I'm here, right? But it's live pro wrestling. It's a Saturday night in Nashville. You never know what's going to happen at from Mid-South Coliseum on a Monday to Nashville Fairgrounds Sports Arena on a Saturday night. Those guys put a lot of miles between Nashville and Memphis. They did not work the most efficient schedule, but, there's a whole backstory to that. Nick Goulas. Pro Wrestling Tees represented. People complain when they have problems with an order and they don't say anything when things are fine. I've always had good service when I've ordered from Pro Wrestling Tees. So let me say good things because they deserve it. And I guess that's the Cardona and I'm trying to remember their real names versus their WWE names, which is why WWE does it that way. They want to confuse you. Hell, want to hang out with Warhorse. I guess that's one of those from Cardona and Myers. This is a very busy board. I was playing on this one earlier. There's a lot going on. Got the Union Jack. BWO. And look, ECW never had the budget to make their arena look like that. What's up with... Maybe I haven't played this in recent enough times to remember some of these boards. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the backstory is there. Maybe there's not a backstory. Maybe it's just they needed something to put for the little thing below it there. Retropalooza. Look, I love a good throwback, and this game certainly has that in spades. Let's go see. That's going to be Cork, and that's going to be what they're going for there. So I'm playing as Jeff Cobb. Yeah, look at the floor. That is Corkin. Announcers there by the entrances. So I'm Jeff Cobb. You can tell who I am because I got the green circle. That's Ian Riccaboni on play-by-play. Here comes Nick Aldis. And much like WrestleFest, this has some of the similar things from that game, like the 2 out of 3 punches, the button masher style. Warhorse in there, and here comes Chris Bay. I like to cut to that wide shot. That's one thing they really didn't do in WrestleFest in the arcade. They would have the little pop-up picture, but they wouldn't do that weird. Maybe weird's not the right way to put it. They really want to show off their arena. I should probably pay attention to the match instead of trying to talk over Riccaboni. Of course, they have Dreamer in there with the polka dots. They realized that was a rib on Dusty, right? This microphone's still peaking too much, I think, when I lay into it. Yeah, I'm getting beaten up by Warhorse. Embarrassed Jeff Cobb. Much respect for that guy. The Tour of the Islands is punishment for repping him poorly in the game. It's somewhat similar to Fire Pro Wrestling World or the Fire Pro series as far as like the not soft, like soft, medium, hard, like the easy, medium, hard type attack variation where you want to go for those tougher attacks later. But this game actually has more as far as like wrestling than WrestleFest had. Like various maneuvers. And sometimes it gets a little silly. Like they have the Atomic Noogie that Sergeant Slaughter famously had in WrestleFest. And they gave it to Cobb. Well, I'm getting powerbombed over there by Aldis. I may not do so well in this one. I'm hurting. The beginner's luck the first time around. I'll let Colt Cabana beat up on Dreamer. I'm Stevie Richards. I can't quite keep up with who everybody's coming and going here in this match or flying on in. A lot of people in red. And I'm seeing, like with Cobb, oh, I got eliminated. What's up with that? Wow. That was unsatisfying. I guess I can buy in and play as, is that Nova coming in? I guess I'll play as Nova. If it'll let me. Whoa. Okay, it didn't let me. So I guess you don't get to continue. You can see, there's the proof that I did play earlier. One with the LOU, being Lou, with Jeff Cobb earlier. Nobody really cares about your past accolades that much. It's a cool touch, though. I really like that. They have that in this game. All right, I'm going to play as Chris Beggs. I can tell you I don't remember playing as him. And I'm not sure the DLC side of it, if it automatically gets downloaded. That's one thing that's nice with Steam. You can go to different computers and not have to jump through 1,000 hoops to get your stuff you paid for. You know, or it can be kind of a hassle to go between computers. The old days, you just grab a cartridge and take it to the other machine. But you wouldn't necessarily have like 3 Nintendos in your house. But if you want to go to a buddy's place and bring it with you, that sort of thing. It's a lot easier when you've got a way to port it over like that. Let's find out what's going on with the... Is this a playoff of like Dennis Coralluzzo? The promoter was part of the infamous double cross when Shane Douglas threw down the ECW or the NWA World Championship belts and when they rebranded the company Extreme Championship Wrestling. As much as that looks kind of dinky, maybe looking back, especially that arena was not the nicest place. It's still not the nicest place up there in Philly, but that's part of it. You know, it's the ECW arena. You know, it, anyway, but Coralluzzo was the NWA promoter. That whole backstory is a fascinating one in and of itself, so I'm guessing that's an allusion to him, but I can't say for sure. So I'm playing as Chris Bay and the red touch to the right. I got Nick Aldis in there, gets me right away. One thing with the arcade game, you can never hear the announcers well in WrestleFest. I'm sure it was intentional, but it was because the arcades can be very loud. But whoa, now, that should have been a back body drop to knock Aldis out. Kind of surprised they didn't do it there. This is set with, it was not really Aztec Warfare. It was more like New Japan Battle Royals or elimination matches where like you can get thrown over the top rope, so we don't have guys, so we have like 9 guys doing jobs otherwise. And there's Chris Bay against Road Warrior Animal. Come on. I need a hope spot. Come on. Yeah, let's go over here. Let's go hang out with Aldis. At least he's worn down a little bit. So we got a double punch and then the drop kick. There's Warhorse. Austin Idol there in the barber's pole pants. That's not really barber's pole, which is the vertical stripes. There comes Jeff Cobb. A little tougher. I've got to wrestle against him as him. With DDT, like I'm Jake Roberts. Like I said, there are some nods to the original WrestleFest, as much as they can do without it causing them any sorts of IP problems. Intellectual property. Get out of Warhorse's way. Flying in there, buddy. They're DDT. And definitely some wrestlers in this game move very fast. Like Chris Bay moves a lot faster, and especially there at the end of the match, I was using Jeff Cobb. Do your chance to taunt there in the corner. The R1 button on my PlayStation 4 remote I've got connected to this computer. Nice cutter. just got pinned. Just trying to run in there and get credit for it. Didn't work out that way. Springboard moonsaults on Colt Boom Boom Cabana. Stevie Richards. And the BWO overload of this game. And it's like, oh, there's Nikita Koloff again, the skinny version. That's one thing, like the Road Warriors in this game don't really feel like the Road Warriors felt in WrestleFest. It doesn't feel like the real Road Warriors, you know? And I get they want to, I'm sure they have reasons for certain body type designs, and I can only imagine the absolute colossal pain it was to animate all of this. But it's, I don't know, I think the concept's sound as far as the game format. It's just the limited roster really puts a squeeze on this game when it comes to replayability. But there's a lot of unique things about it, and it's fun to play from time to time. This is a perfect chance to play it this morning. Just to make sure this microphone being louder than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to adjust that before later. So then there's Chris Bay in the red ties. Got a pile driver. Well, where am I? There I am. Taking a nap. Standing nap. I'll do a pose. I'll get away from Koloff. Oh, there's Morrison. Or Johnny Retro, as he is in this game. Whoa, a crunch. Warhorse got broken, as it were. Cardona in there. Wrestling like he's Danielson or something. Like he's trying out for the Blackpool Combat Club. Going around Blue Meanie like it's nothing. Spoke too soon. Let Meanie go hang out with Road Warrior Hawk for a while. Maybe not. Here's Sabre enters the match. Zack Sabre Jr. There's so much going on here. Can't really tell. I get having a nice pace to the match, but a little tough sometimes. Can't tell them for very long or somebody will run at you. There we go. I guess when somebody's finally worn down enough, you can throw them out. It was Brian. I think it was Brian Myers I threw out. Sometimes it's kind of tough to tell you. Jumping knee. High knee like I'm Brutus Beefcake in 1985. That side slam there by Meanie. Are we down to 4? I stalled enough to let myself get some room. They were the technical wizard, Zack Sabre Jr. Animation. It was kind of funny looking. Like something from a whammy on Press Your Luck. Uh-oh. Not so funny getting stuck in that armbar. Uh-oh, is this going to be it? Oh, 2 count. Get away from Sabre. It's going to be Hawk who's blown up. It's in a headlock or something. Uh-oh. Whoa. Oh, so much for that. Oh. Kicked out. Make a pin Hawk. Hey, pinned Hawk. How about that? Belly to back suplex on Meanie by Chris Bay. I like the corner animation for these guys. I can pin Meanie. Oh. All right, Sabre, you take him there for a minute. Get on our way. Go over here to pose or something. Oh, there we go. Uh-oh. I'm going to pay for that one. Mess around, get pinned by Meanie. Oh, that's cool. The crowd's doing the Zack Sabre Jr. thing. Oh, did Meanie get thrown out? Did I get thrown off of Twitch for singing? Check out. Hey, Coco Sports, how's it going? Yeah, it does kind of run out of options after a while. It's just so much of like the same guys. And like the same guys, I don't use these guys playing Fire Pro enough, 7,000s of Fire Pro matches, you know? I mean, I like to use them when I can, but you can reach the point very quickly. If I were in the game, I would get tired of playing as myself, you know? I mean, it's just part of it. Oh, Saber may have me here. I don't know. Man. Lucky win. If I can get him here, I'm going to pin him. And let's see if I can get the win. That was good. Oh. Ah. Saber. I messed a little bit with the audio controls. Made a placing there. 8th. It's Chris Bay. I guess it's Hollywood Nova. Again, when like, you know, whatever percent of your roster is a novelty act. That was a parody in 1996. Look, it was clever at the time. And those guys, I respect them all individually. Stevie Richards in particular is really good, you know, when he's been allowed opportunities in his career. All right, let's play again. Play as Road Warrior Animal. Let's pick an arena. There's one of these in particular I was going to check out. There's so many boards. There's more like as many boards as there are wrestlers. But again, I know the difficulty. Every time you add somebody, that's a whole nother set of sprites you got to do. But I mean, of course, part of the idea with back in that day when WrestleFest came out, it wasn't like games came with 75 wrestlers on board. And it was like that WrestleMania challenge or whatever for the NES, Christmas of 1990. What a terrible game. Although it was better than the original WWF WrestleMania game that was, I never even owned it. It was so bad that it was like, you know, even like, I was like, in an era when people would buy games even if they weren't all that good because like these games had never existed in this form before. You know, it was like tennis. It didn't need a gimmick. It was just a sport. Golf. And for so many of those games, it was the first time they had been on any sort of a home system, certainly it looked like it, let alone the arcade. So I dig all the retro stuff with this. I like that. It's just, that stuff has a very short half-life. You know, nostalgia. There's a reason you can pop a crowd once with a guy, twice. Those diminishing returns kick in quick. Too long and just another Bill Goldberg showing up for a paycheck from time to time. This is the Warhorse level. Hell. It's kind of cool with a band on stage. A little distracting, but, you know. Part of the ambiance. You get the flames. Hang on a second. There's Ian Riccaboni pointing at you. It's been cool hearing Ian on some of the AEW broadcasts. He's really good. Dude's like, in another era would have been like an afternoon DJ. But that job doesn't really exist like that anymore. Radio's different now. But he's really good at what he does. And I'm glad they've given an opportunity with some of the Ring of Honor stuff in AEW. Now, granted, the announcer's desk is House of 1,000 announcers, but they go for familiar voices there. They definitely emphasize that. And I certainly understand that. But you can... Get the echo effect. And the ring announcer, I'm not sure who the ring announcer is in this game. I should know, but I don't. Then again, it should tell us that it's Ian, and they don't. I mean, I think they do in the credits, but anyway. If you know who he is, you know that it's Ian Riccaboni pointing at you. I wish they would have been a little more serious with the drawings as far as the guys entering, because that's WrestleFest. I mean, look, I understand there's a lot of fun to be had in pro wrestling, but I mean, pro wrestling at its best is deadly serious feuds and highly coveted titles. If you have that in star power, you're usually going to be all right as a promotion. At least in my opinion. Look how skinny Animal looks. I mean, it breaks the, not suspension of disbelief even, but it's just, is that okay? I'm playing, RetroMania, not WrestleFest. As much as fun as this game, much as this game in certain ways is better, strongly better than WrestleFest. But look at it, it's like the wellness policy got thrown into effect. Guys are like, cut, but they don't have that skin stretched over cinder block. And not that I'm advocating for that, but it's just, look, this is a video game. Meanwhile, here comes the BWO again. It's the diminishing return thing. And it's like, wait, how many times is this guy? Oh, is it? Oh, no, is that Nova? Or no, that's Richards? And look, they tried, because, I mean, Meanie looks different, if you can tell. They put a headband there on Hollywood Nova, which is accurate to what he had in that era, because it'll play off the NWO and their stuff. Hey, it's Morrison's. Okay, or Johnny Retro. All right. And Jeff Cobb in every match. That's fine. He's awesome. But then there's not like those other guys. It's like, we're not going to have John Moxley do it. Not that they had a budget for Moxley in this game, certainly, but you get what I'm saying. Like Chris Dickinson. Wish they had Filthy Tom Lawler in this game. Though he's doing pretty well for himself in New Japan. I guess they decided to put green face paint on Animal so you make sure not that you would tell the haircuts being different, but the way this game is, they zoom out real quick to tell who is who at a glance. I'll reverse that one. Look at that power. It's kind of fun when you see Animal throw the guy halfway across the ring. And part of the reason it's also fun to use Jeff Cobb throwing guys around. So I'm playing as Road Warrior Animal with a green face paint. I'm surprised they didn't do more with color palette swaps as well. I think that a little bit of that could have gone a long way, but I'm not sure how viable that was with their layout. And even now, look at that. Sometimes there's like these green flashes. Like, I remember seeing that in the developmental stuff. Okay, that's stuff they got to fill in. And maybe I've got to like re-download the game. I don't know, but maybe that's part of it. I just don't get what the green flashes is signifying. But if I can't tell, it's not a good sign, right? Don't be insulting to the makers of this game. I mean, I know they worked really, really hard to make this, and it's fun to play. Just, again, I don't want to play it to the point I don't like it, because I don't want to get content for this, because it's a fun game, but every now and then kind of thing. What made it perfect for today is I want to make sure more than anything this broadcast setup is going to sound the way I want it to. And I know the proper rules for blockchain brawlers, they've added discarding back into it, so that's going to be an interesting adaptation, but something to just look out for that game. This upcoming iteration, I can pin them here to get that. Like when they lay at an angle like that, you can go for the pin easier, which is just like WrestleFest, which is a cool touch. Where am I? Am I getting pinned here? Oh, did I just get pinned and not realize it? Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I kind of get pinned, but I was hidden in that stupid logo there in the middle. There's a reason I don't make my rings look like that in Fire Pro very often, or if I do, is that I got the Hattie B's ring, and I got like Misawa, and guys that are contrasting colors. Anyway, let's get out of this. Like sour grapes for me after losing. Just, you kind of get where I'm going with this, right? Okay, let's play this one more time. I want to get at least like 40 minutes of this or so. Just something to give this a go. It's a fun game. I don't want to dump on it at all. I wish they had gone less cartoonish and more serious with it, but because WrestleFest didn't have exaggerated cartoonishness. It looked like they had the circa 1991 Royal Rumble, that little box would pop up, and you'd see Earthquake chugging down to the ring with Jimmy Hart next to him. Jimmy Hart, I've got to say, Jimmy Hart, really nice guy. Met him multiple times, lived in Tampa years ago. He's just like talking to anybody. He's like, you wouldn't know that he was a famous person from wrestling, But anyway, That made me think of that. And then with Earthquake in the WrestleFest game, you could think of some of the moves from WrestleFest to some of the guys here just spread out enough to where you can tell where it's like an homage. You're not going to complain that, well, technically, Jeff Cobb doesn't use the Atomic Noogie, Lou. Come on, get it right. And you'd be correct, but look, there's right and then there's in there for a reason, right? I'm playing against Cobb. See if I can avenge that poor performance earlier. All right. Like, do they do podcast outdoors, or is this just like the setting they created for it? There are a lot of podcasts out there. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to slight anyone. I thought Ariel Helwani did a good job with his interview with Tony Khan of All Elite Wrestling. It was an awkward spot for Ariel because of his connection with Nick Khan, who was his agent at one point, and that was a major player with WWE. I've heard all sorts of stories, and there are probably more accurate write-ups in the Observer. You can read what Dave Meltzer wrote about it, easier than me trying to think of it off the top of my head. But it's pro wrestling, so as usual, the stuff behind the scenes is as fascinating as what's on television, if not more so at times. AEW had a great episode of Dynamite this week. I didn't dislike last week's episode as much as some people did. Some people really didn't like that. But I've enjoyed Dynamite like weeks and weeks and weeks in a row. It's been a long time since I've not enjoyed a Dynamite. Rampage, it's like the third hour Raw, just on a tape delay, you know? I mean, they can add it with sound added. And look, they got some great people. Their post-production, AEW, stellar. But there's only so much you can do when the crowd is not really into it. You can tell. You watch enough early 1990s wrestling syndicated television to hear fake crowd pumped in over like 1993, like hour 4 of a TV taping in Poughkeepsie or wherever. Not to diss Poughkeepsie, but that sounds like a place they would have run in 1993 when they were trying to save some money on buildings. So there's the beach and there's the podcast. Well, I talked about the podcast one before. I've got to see the board now. Again, there are enough boards in this game where, yeah, I've seen this. There's a lot of purple in this. It feels like the Hasbro figure ring that came out in 1990. So I'm playing as Jeff Cobb, and I got Nick Aldis against me.
Into the ropes he goes. He's looking to make quick work of him.
Zoom out. Okay, there's Aldis doing the kicks there in the corner. Let's get out of the way.
He's making a statement tonight. We have the best in the world here tonight.
I was trying to unmute my microphone and be smooth about it in the match and completely missed when I was trying to click it. It's the tough part. It's not a good place to go for a pin.
We have the best in the world here tonight.
But with RetroMania, it's similar, as I mentioned before, to how it is with Fire Pro Wrestling, for that series. Fire Pro Wrestling World, we've got 3 levels, the easy, medium, and hard, as far as the moves. It's a lot early on against guys that are worn down. You can have a lot more success when you're going for those weaker maneuvers. And that's going to start out with somebody's big signature maneuver 30 seconds in. But where it's tough, though, in the context of a Royal Rumble Aztec Warfare kind of match, lose track of where I am in the ring. Like it disorients me when they zoom out like that. I'm sure there's a way to like turn it off. They did a very good job of allowing me to customize things. Whoa, you guys flying all around me here. I remember that Nova has the headband. It makes it easy to remember because Stevie Richards had the NWO, for comedy they did the cutoff T-shirt thing. I wonder if Jeff Cobb and Colt Cabana have ever wrestled. I'm sure they have at some point. Nope, let's throw them out. But I say I'm sure, but I'm not actually sure. I would think they would have. some point one of those like New Japan shows, although both of them on the babyface side, not necessarily.
Wants to make quick work of him. To the top rope. Is he dead?
I'll do a pose there as Cobb, the Olympian.
To the ropes he goes.
I was trying to go for a pin there, but instead, and that's how it was in WrestleFest. But things moved a little bit too fast, I think, pace-wise at times, for my liking.
Best in the world here tonight. He killed him. He's dead. He won't give up.
And you can tell that wasn't a WWE line there. They will not let their announcers say that somebody was killed or dead.
Another man enters.
There's a gut wrench by Meanie like he's Steve Williams over a doctor bomb on me. Man, I gotta get away from him. Meanie's messing me up. They're all running together there. That's a problem. Which is too bad because like the stuff, it's like there's some really cool things. Like the stuff in the corner there. I mean, you don't. Most wrestling games don't get that right. I get pinned here. Oh, that's pathetic. Well, so much for that. So you see. What if I don't hit a button, if it'll just keep going, or if it eventually will end of its own accord? Like, I don't think it's gonna have me play as Warhorse. There we go. Okay. Oh, do I have to? Okay. I'll just knock the name out if I play again at some point and happen to eliminate more than one person. Not exactly a huge achievement, but I'll put it in there to keep it. There's that. After I won so easily playing the first time, I thought, oh, well, I must be on easy mode here. I'll go ahead and just play this and win it for the feed and then get on here and not so much. But it's the unpredictability of a Rumble type match. So that's it for this broadcast of NashvilleLou Live. I plan later tonight. I'm not sure. Some of this depends on when Blockchain Brawlers actually comes out and is playable as beta release in browser form, which is coming later today. So I'll have that here, NashvilleLou Live, here on Twitch. That's it for this broadcast. Thanks for watching NashvilleLou Live, playing RetroMania. See you next time.